that's the brilliant thing about comic books, which I think a lot of people don't realise, that you can tell any story in a comic book or a graphic novel if you want to be like picky, which I think a lot of comic fans get stuck up on. Like, I remember talking to people about The Filth, which is this story about this sort of underground society, and it's very like acid, if you get what I mean by that. It's like nuts. I remember handing them being like, "This is brilliant. I really really like this. You should read this." And they were like, yeah, it was good, but I just don't think it worked as a comic book. I think that would have worked better as a show, or a film, or just not a comic book." And I think a lot of people get hung up on the fact that it's not their thing.
Yeah, right. Well, I am interested in like traditional books, film, artwork, just standalone artwork. I just kind of wouldn't lock out comics as a way of telling a story. I think they kind of like do something that no other medium does. There's just a particular thing that comics do, really well. So I think that should always be an option when you've got an idea, a story, or something you want to translate through a medium. A lot of people would just disregard that as being okay. That really pigeonholes it, but not necessarily. Some stories have really broke out as comics, and then they can kind of go on to be other things. But yeah, that's it really. It's a language. It's a choice.
I don't know what it is, but there is something unique about storytelling in a comic book, and I don't know. I think if I knew that, I'd be making them. If I got that, I'd be there. It's something that I don't understand, but it's just unique to it, and I think that's why I don't like superhero comics, because I feel it's a story. It's like a kind of storytelling which is kind of naff in a way. Like, it's very like I think people who write comic books and people who illustrate comics, they know that it's you can't really take themselves too seriously, and I think so that sense of storytelling for me works when it's not about superheroes and good versus evil and that sort of thing.
Mangas that go way off those rails. It's kind of like just crazy concepts about like some like a gay detective who's kind of going out with his own father and stuff. Just weird, just stuff that you just wouldn't even. I mean, I made that example up, but I'm pretty sure there's something that's exactly like that. But yeah, just kind of like seen as a fringe thing anyway. Why play to the mainstream? Why not just go all out and go? Let's really fly a flag for this is a medium for really creative, really kind of groundbreaking ideas.
Waltz with Bashir, which was a film that came out like 8 years ago, something like that, and that is about like conflict in Lebanon and Jordan, and so it's stuff like that has led to areas of comic book going out of this safe haven of comic books into other areas, and shit like that is because authors like Frank Miller, who make stuff like In Hell.
The first Captain America was African American. However, they didn't choose to tell that story. It was only when it came out that they adapted to the times, and the darker side of what was World War, where African Americans were, chosen for test subjects and stuff. Like, that could have been an aspect where Marvel Comics could have avoided. I went, no, that's a bad thing, we'll not talk about that. But they chose to explore it and went, no, this is what the times were like them days, and this is how our comics suited.
Yeah, and even the sort of the deconstruction of superheroes, which was done brilliantly in Watchmen, even that kind of now becoming a bit of a... It's kind of been folded back up and gone back into the same machine, where it's like, I'm going to do a typical story, but what would it be like in the real world? even that's becoming slightly a bit of a hacky premise now.
Things like Mouse and 8 Ball, and there's a few people like Seth, and there's a lot of that sort of more obscure stuff, but in the realistic world of actual sales and actual turnover, it's people like Mark Miller and Kick-Ass and that sort of thing that really pushes it into the mainstream. Walking Dead, the TV series, basically anyone who's decided, oh, this was a good concept for a comic, I'm going to make this into a film, a TV show, a web series. There's where you get your customers in for other titles. Stuff like Mouse, yeah, it might be all, ooh, this is very worthy and all the rest of it, Persepolis, and they're great reads, but the actual percentage of people who read them are the same sort of people that actually go out and read Penguin classics. You know what I mean? How many people out there, if you go down the street, actually have read, you know, Lady Chatterley's Lover or Wuthering Heights or all those well-known names? Like, you might see the TV adaptation, but chances are you haven't read the book. Same sort of thing.